What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the All of Life podcast. It's good to be with you all again. It's Warren here, joined by John, Jim, as usual. I pointed to different people there, but you guys know who they are by now. Man, it's good to be here. It's crazy how quickly the year is just flying by. I'm like, what? We are already heading into December. Like, I'm already listening to Christmas music. My goodness, man. So anyway, hope it's been going well for you. Hope you've been getting through the October wall that we've talked about the last couple episodes. We're not going to talk about it again today. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, check the last couple episodes out where we talked about that. But hopefully you're at a good spot before we get deep in the holiday seasons. So today, as we always do, we're going to keep things rolling. And the way we get started here on the All of Life podcast is we talk about just what's on the top of our minds right now. And the question we're asking here is, you know, we listen to all sorts of podcasts, read books, quotes, John's sharing reels with me all the time, like all sorts of stuff that are just out there. And would love to hear from you guys. What are some of the things at the front of your mind right now?
What you got, John?
Top of my mind is Advent.
Okay.
Coming up.
Rival.
And just like you said, it's kind of sneaking up on us. So I don't have a quote today or anything. I'm just like on the forefront of my mind is Advent is right around the corner. And usually we have a little bit more time, but Thanksgiving is really late. And so Advent starts like right after Thanksgiving.
All right.
So,
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Oh, you kind of took where I was going to go with my
top
of the mind. But I'll pivot. I'll pivot.
My favorite Thanksgiving food. Man, now you're torturing me because I can't have it this year. But it's the sweet potato recipe that has been in my family for a long time. My grandparents were from the South, from Alabama. And so they make these southern sweet potatoes with, obviously mashed potato.
Dude, I'm going there too.
Wait, you can't have it for one day? This is your one day of the year.
I got that pre-diabetes, man.
Come on, man.
Let me tell you the reason why I think this is the case. I think your grandparents from Alabama saw the way that you dress. They're like, you can't have the sweet potatoes until you mix it up.
Come on.
Is that what happened? They're holding back.
They're holding back.
Come on, man. John, you gotta, look, I'm gonna start a petition, man. You have to have the sweet potato pie. This is one day of the year.
I gotta get my blood sugar checked before Thanksgiving. And if it's good, I can have it.
All right.
But anyways,
That's fair.
There's like marshmallows on top. That's popular now.
Yeah.
But then you get the corn flakes on top of it. Man, it's so good.
That sounds delicious.
So it's like dessert. That's my favorite all time.
Makes sense. What about you, Jim? What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
My favorite Thanksgiving food is probably the dessert, the pie.
You don't like Thanksgiving?
He loves turkey.
Well, here's the thing. The thing I was going to ask, the thing that's top of my mind is my family, we do ribs giving.
That's right.
And, know, we get the folks in the neighborhood and a few others, and we make ribs. And our whole thing is this made-up holiday is what foods do you think should have been Thanksgiving foods? I'm pretty sure it was just like Campbell's Soup Company that decided that we're going to have casseroles and stuff so that they can push some product.
Totally.
But my top of the mind was going to ask you guys, like, if you reset Thanksgiving and said, here's going to be traditional Thanksgiving food, what would you put there? So mine is ribs for sure. But what else goes on there?
You know, I really do like Italian food.
Yeah.
And so lasagna, Alfredo, all that sort of stuff. High carbs.
Yeah.
I love that sort of stuff. So I think I would add those in.
Yeah.
Tri-tip.
Oh, yeah.
A good tri-tip.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, barbecue for sure.
Yeah.
But we're like biased. We're like a barbecue church.
We are a barbecue church.
I wouldn't be mad if tamales, too.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Tamales for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Ice cream. That's kind of makes it in there sometimes.
Yeah. I get spoiled a little bit because, Marika's family's from South Africa, so they do a whole bunch of different things and different desserts.
South African barbecue is good.
That peri-peri chicken.
Yeah.
Peri-peri chicken. Malfa pudding. Marika just made it for RC last night. Dude, it is crazy good.
That's cool. So
So
that was your top of the mind.
Yeah, and we like to remix it. what's the purpose of ribs giving? You know, if you're thinking about the ribs, what we're in celebrating is what are the courageous things that you did that year?
Is that really the purpose? I thought it was just a purpose for you to nerd out on your barbecue once a year.
That's kind of the main purpose, but you know, I got to put a little twist to it.
He's got to put a little, his flavor on it.
Yeah. But I think that's worth celebrating.
That's cool.
We have a lot of holidays that are kind of like, we don't even know what we're celebrating. Thanksgiving you kind of do, but there should be a holiday around courageous acts.
Come on.
You know?
Come on. It's good. All right, so that was your top of the mind.
That's my top of the mind.
All right, cool.
What's on yours?
I have so many more ideas about Thanksgiving, but we'll get to them another time.
Okay.
So top of the mind, something I've been thinking about recently, and I would love to just have you guys interact with this. It's like, so Morgan Housel, a guy I deeply respect, non-Christian, but finance guy. He talks about how when you look at someone else's life and you go, hey, I want their life. I want their success. I want whatever they have. You have to take their life from start to finish and not just the good parts.
The result,
Yeah, I've been thinking about that in terms of people, right? Like, even in all right, someone like Kanye West, right? Who we can all agree has said like crazy things, you know? But like, I think it's kind of interesting that we are surprised when people like that, who we love for like their creativity and like the ways that they push the boundaries when it comes to things like music, when they like show that part of themselves in other parts of their lives. And I'm just wondering, like, why is that the case? Like, there's some reality of like, it's not okay that they say these wildest things and like maybe that crazy part of them flows out in other ways. It's not okay. Like, it's part of their sin nature and what we would say. But the reality is like, why does that surprise us so much? And I think for so much of our experience, there's a selfishness that goes with people in our lives that we want to experience them completely on our own terms. You know what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying.
Like, we want to experience the people in our lives completely on our own terms, almost like it's a video game. And it's like, give me this part of you, and I'll take that part because it's like good, and it's maybe something I can vibe with. But like these other parts of you, which is like, and like if they're really strong in this way of their life, there's a reality like maybe their brokenness is going to be experienced in a similar way. It's like, no, I don't want that part of you.
So like if you have someone in your life who's very thoughtful and conscientious, but then you're like, hey, but you worry too much and I don't want that, you know. You overthink things too much. But it's that same mindset that's saying, I'm thinking about other people.
Exactly, man.
Yeah, I can see that, man. I can see that.
So like, I just find that to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, it is. But what's the right way to react with the dark side, interact with the dark side of that? Because sometimes it can be dark and it's not healthy. And
totally. And I don't think you just accept it wholesale. Like, well, that's just who they are. Like, I think there are ways to like obviously address and harness, right? But at the same time, like, I think, do you have the grace and the patience to go, this is why this is coming from them, because this is like a way that God has wired them to be. And obviously, then obviously there's like the reality of sin and brokenness in a way like impacts all of us. But it's like, I think sometimes it's just like, maybe there's a lack of patience, a lack of space for like the ways that the ways that they beautifully display themselves, the ways that goes sometimes sideways. So.
And that the relationship is about extracting the good stuff and then rejecting.
Dude, man. So
I think that's profound.
It's been on my mind. I don't know why. It's been on my mind.
Good.
So, anywho, all right. So let's keep going. Yesterday here at Redemption Tempe, today is the 18th, so November 17th. Jim, you preached. And we continued on in our Sermon on the Mount series, which has been incredible. I have totally loved it. It's not because I'm a part of it. Like I'm here, I'm listening to it.
Like especially the parts I've preached.
Especially the salt and light. No,
that sermon I preached.
No, man. Like I've actually really enjoyed. Like I've come to church each week, like really looking forward to hearing from God's word. And it has been an incredible, I know people in our church have said that they've really appreciated this series. And so that continued yesterday. Jim, you preached from Matthew 7, verse 12, the golden rule. I think something we want to get started on here is like, if these episodes are happening the Sundays after one of us preach, it'll be cool to just kind of dive into some of what maybe hit the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Maybe some just insights that you came across as you were studying. The stuff that we all want to say, but we're all like, hey, we don't want our sermons to be 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jim, I mean, if you have anything at the top of the mind as far as your sermon goes from yesterday, like, were there any cool insights that you came across, or, just things that God brought to mind as you were studying the passage?
Yeah. So yesterday I talked about how the competitor to the golden rule is something I called the mirror rule.
Yeah, that was good, dude.
Just to focus on yourself. It says, I'll treat myself the way I want to treat myself. And I felt like that was the most important competitor to the golden rule to talk about. Just this whole life orientation of focusing on oneself.
Yeah.
But there were 2 others that I was going to do, but for the sake of time, and I clearly didn't have any extra minutes. Was the playground rule and the boomerang rule.
Okay.
So we'll just start with the playground rule and interact around that. The playground rule is essentially the way kids operate on a playground. Like if the golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated, the playground rule is I will treat people the way they treat me.
Yeah.
There you go.
And just like any kid on a playground is like, hey, I'll be nice to people. I'll share. I'll be fun and everything. But as soon as they treat me bad, I'm going to treat them bad.
Yeah.
If you don't respect me, I won't respect you.
Yeah.
If you aren't kind to me, I won't be kind to you. And I think a lot of people operate with this mindset that says, I will treat others well if they treat me well. You know? And we don't, it's the same thing of like when 2 kids have a fight and they're down, their explanation is what? He started
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am fully justified in the way I'm acting.
Yeah.
And so my question for you guys would be like, if that is the approach that people take to life, the playground rule, where do you see that popping up in life?
That's good.
And what impact does that have?
I feel like that's our default. You know, like I feel like that's just our own sin nature. That's everybody's default.
Yeah.
And I love that you call it the playground rule because that's historically why there's so many fights on playgrounds.
Yeah.
You know? But I feel like, you know, where you see it is this is how a lot of craziness happens in our world. This is the foundation for all road rage.
Yep. Yep.
And it's over something ridiculous, right? But people have this increased angst and aggression behind the wheel. It's like all of their life is bent up in aggression, and somebody didn't use their blinker and they pulled in front of you. And what are you going to do? Even those of you that are watching that attend this church, we all know, you know, you're probably going to cut them off or pull up beside them, show them a finger that's
please
next to you.
Do not do that.
Yeah, please don't do that, but we know some of you have done it.
Yeah.
Do you know something we don't know about the people in our church?
Man.
That's why we don't do bumper stickers, right? That's why we don't do church bumper stickers. Yeah, I think I've been flipped off by a few people. I was like, hey, you go to my church.
And then they raise the rest of the fingers.
No, but I just think
man,
like there's
funny.
this, our default, especially when we feel angry, is I'm going to treat you how you just treated me.
Yeah, man. It is the way of reviews.
Yeah,
right?
1 star.
You name that, man. It's like the name of reviews of like, this restaurant gave me a poor experience. I'm going to make sure that I
stick it to them.
Stick it to them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, why, I guess is my question.
Well, it honestly is.
Why?
It is fair. But it's a fair way to live. But it's also, you just have to accept the fact that this mindset is basically social Darwinism.
Yes.
Survival of the fittest.
fittest.
Because the only way that problems can be solved with this mindset is domination.
Yes.
So it's the only way
Yes.
you can solve things, because if two people are saying it's the other person's fault, they started it, it's because the way they treated me first.
Yeah.
You either have to decide who was the first one who legitimately made the first offense.
Yeah.
Which is very hard to do in most situations. Like an example would be when I was in Israel, Palestine. I spent time on the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. Oh, everyone gets tense when I start talking about it. But like, I spent time with different people from those different sides, and I just asked them about the various conflicts, and they all had a will to treat the other well. But both sides had this mindset of, well, if you knew the horrible things that they did, and if they changed and started doing things right, then we would.
Yeah.
But if both sides have that mindset, it cannot be solved unless there is the domination of one side or the other. You bring it down to like a marriage. If both parties in a marriage are saying, I will start treating the other person better.
Yeah.
When they start treating me better.
Sure.
Yeah.
It cannot be solved.
That's right.
Unless someone just comes and overpowers, like in a playground.
Yeah.
And the fair on the playground is, I'm gonna appear weak. That will lead to me not getting my way, me being ostracized.
Yeah.
Like, are some of those same fears what's underneath the ways that this manifests in adulthood and beyond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an underlying belief that there's no one looking out for me, that God is not attentive to my life.
Yes.
So I have to get my own.
Yeah.
I have to come on top. I have to fight for me.
Yeah.
That is a social Darwinistic worldview that says that there is no meaning behind all of this. It's survival of the fittest. You have to come out on top. And if you can create some other allies to help you get on top, great. But otherwise, you have to get yours because no one else is looking out for you.
Wow.
So let's see how strong you really are.
Jim, do you think it's, I see where the fairness is playing out of like trying to even the score, but is there ever, would you ever say it's retributive where it wouldn't be fair? Like where you treated me this way, so I'm actually going to treat you in a way almost like vengeance.
Yeah. Well, I would kind of differentiate between those two.
Yeah.
Because there can be a fair retributive justice.
Yeah.
Of like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth,
Yeah.
sort of thing. But then there can be a disproportionate response that isn't fair.
You're like an example would be like, you and Warren hurt me. And so because of that, instead of me just trying to hurt you, I'm actually going to do something retributively that wouldn't be fair, but I'm going to go and slander you guys and try to ruin your guys' reputation as pastors.
Yeah.
That feels like, well, we've now ratcheted up versus you guys just hurt me. I'm now slandering you and really bringing your guys' reputation through the...
I think what happens there is a lot of the times people feel like it's a proportionate response when it's not.
Because they're hurt.
Yeah, because you're hurt. How deeply you feel something. Or it's a preemptive strike out of the fear that worse things could happen.
Out of the fear, worse things can happen. Don't mess with me.
Yeah.
Right? Man,
it's good.
Yeah, so I mean that's the playground.
It's insightful.
And I'm just curious, like if you took something like, just hypothetically, if tomorrow everyone started living with that mindset, like what would life look like in a year from now?
I mean, I think we'll have war.
Yeah, a lot of them.
A lot of war.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there'd be a heightened amount of crime.
Oh my goodness.
A very heightened amount of crime.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what percentages of marriages would still remain married? What would it mean for children?
Yeah.
The problem is that we would all be acting like children on a playground. And I think that we all have a sense that that's generally not the way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although there are strong forces in the world that are saying, yes, this is the way to live.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But most of us kind of operate on that's not the way you want to live, but I will selectively choose moments when that is the right mindset. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that is very, very true. Like we have our moments where we're willing to do that. Maybe if we're not as passionate about whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a way of living as a whole, no.
What would you guys say if someone came back and said, if you live the golden rule instead of the playground rule, you're just going to get stomped on, taken advantage of, and your life is going to be miserable. You'll never get ahead. You'll never have a good life.
What would I say in response to that
Yeah,
person?
how would you respond to that?
I would tell them, by the world's standards, you're probably right, but read the Beatitudes.
And
Jesus says, this is the blessed life. You will be persecuted. You will be slandered. You'll be reviled. You're not going to get ahead in life.
Yeah.
But it's blessed to be meek. It's blessed to be a peacemaker. Blessed to hunger and thirst for righteousness.
Yeah.
And to say, hey, you know what? By the world's standards and the world's operating system, you might be right.
Yeah.
But yet, we as followers of Jesus operate with a different operating system with the kingdom in mind.
Yeah.
is that blessing just the future when God makes things right? Or is there something actually good about a life that lives that way?
Yeah, no, I think that's something, a distinction we've been making in the Sermon on the Mount. It's not the carrot on the stick at the end.
Yeah.
You know, there is the reality of the future reward of being with Christ and all of that, but it's also life right now.
Yeah.
It's eternal life right now. Like eternal life is not someday, it's right now. And so if that is true, then we know we don't have to live in fear of our identity and value. It's secured. We're living an eternal life right now.
Yeah.
Right? If that's the case, then we don't have to win. We've already won. And so I think there's like this reality of like, man, I can experience life and truth right now. It's not on the other side of me defending myself.
Yeah, and I think the refrain that we have all woven through every week of this sermon series is that this is a good and different way to live.
Right.
And in addition to everything you just said, Warren, I think that if everybody is living this way, and if you say, hey, I'm not going to operate this way, people will actually be drawn to the way that you're living.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you will actually experience a peace, right?
Yeah.
And even if you just take that extreme example of road rage, well, if you've ever been involved in road rage, there is no peace. There's, increased amount of stress.
Yes.
And I mean, you're beside yourself. And you just go, yeah, maybe if you tell me that I'm going to get trampled on by the world, but I believe that the blessed life is also for the here and now, life today.
Yes.
And that if this is the way that Jesus lived, and if this is the way that Jesus treated me, but he didn't treat me as my sins deserved, then I actually think that there's something wildly compelling about living this way. And if the world is a dog-eat-dog mentality, people are going to say, hey, there's something different about you, and be drawn and compelled.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's just take it.
I have a question too when you're done. I have another one.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So I think there's a secular interpretation of this, right? That goes like, be the bigger man. Is there any difference? Or is that just like a non-Christian translation?
I mean, I think there's some overlap.
Okay.
I think, I can't see a huge difference. Can you see?
Well, maybe even with that, there's a sense of pride. I'm the bigger man.
Yeah. That's true. I can see that.
And I don't know. Yeah, I think that would be maybe different on a heart level of what the golden rule is inviting us into.
Where you're
That
saying
one-
I'm better than you.
Yeah.
I would say I think it's getting at the same. That feels like it's a reactive posture of when someone's done something, hey, be the bigger man. But the golden rule is actually a proactive posture.
That's a good point.
Where Jesus is saying, hey, treat others the way that you want to be treated. What Jim was saying yesterday, or at least what I heard you say, maybe you didn't say it and I just was making it up, but is that this is the ethic for living. And it's proactive versus being the bigger man is oftentimes a reactive, like, dude, don't take that person down, like be the bigger man, and it's on the backside.
So if it's the ethic for living, let me just give a real life scenario.
Yeah.
So I grew up on car dealerships. My dad, brother all worked at car dealerships, and they, gave me little jobs to pick up cigarette butts around the car dealership. And I got to watch different car salesmen. Let me give two different car salesmen, right? One of them is very manipulative, or let's just say has the playground mindset, right? And says, I am going to outperform all the other sales people here. And so if they're nice to me, they're nice to me, fine. But if they get in the way of anybody I'm trying to connect with or any of my time, I'm slandering them.
Wow.
I'm just tanking them. If I see their customer, I'm trying to snatch their customer. That's one mindset, right? And I'm trying to get through as many of these sales interactions as possible.
Yeah.
So I can just sell as many cars at as high a price with little regard to the actual customer. But then you get a Christian person, which I've seen in this setting, that says, I'm going to sit with the customer, hear what they need, give them the car that would be best for them, be very honest, and then give them a price that allows both of you to flourish. Like, one is it's a fair price for the person, the other it's a fair compensation for the salesperson.
Yeah.
The assumption would be that the person living the playground rule is going to get ahead of the person living the golden rule in this situation. Is that true? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think words are very important here.
Yeah.
What does ahead mean there? Do you just mean more sales?
Yeah.
Do you mean a better quality of life? What does ahead actually mean there? Because, I mean, ahead, if you measure it from like the totality of your life, if you're living that way, your stress, your anxiety, like you will get ahead in sales, but you will be dying in every other way.
That's true.
And so I think there is a reality, and I think we need to be even clear about. Scripture talks about this. Like, you look around at the world, like the psalmist says, like, wow, I see evil people thriving, And so I don't think it's like, if your idea of ahead is worldly success, you might lose.
Yeah.
You might lose.
Yeah.
But if your idea of getting ahead is having a full life, having peace, loving others well, doing good work, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got, I mean, there's several angles to that too, right? One is the manipulative sales guy may be better off in the moment.
Yeah.
But the Christian salesman who is doing business through a Christian ethic and treating someone how they would want to be treated, they are going to be the person that gets the referral.
Yeah. True.
Like, and especially the car salesman one is low hanging fruit because there's obviously been like a dismantling of the entire model because people are tired of those type of salespeople that are manipulative. But the best way to grow your business and get more commission off sales is word of mouth.
That's true.
And when you actually treat people the way that you would want to be treated, and you live out the golden rule, and you listen to what their needs are, that person is going to say, go see so-and-so when you need a car because boom, 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 boom.
True.
And in the long run, they are actually going to get ahead, probably by even world standards, because the manipulative one, it's sketchy. But then you also go, which one sleeps better at night?
Exactly.
The person that is kind of using sketchy business, you might even say, is borderline, that's almost like theft, you know, manipulative. How do you sleep at night? Do you have to, self-medicate to live with yourself, look in the mirror? Or the person that's like, hey, you know what? I'm living out the kingdom ethic. I'm treating people well, loving them so that we can both flourish. And that person probably sleeps better at night.
I think they have a better quality of life.
Totally.
Holistically.
Yeah, I think there's no question. So there's really the two questions, actually. I said there's no question, and then I said there's two questions. I skipped over one question altogether.
Hey, and you took my hand. You started doing that.
On one hand, there's the question of, will you have a holistically better, more joyful, abundant life? On the other hand, will you be a better car salesperson and be more fruitful in that way? What I like about what you were saying is that there is some truth that if you live along according to the grain of creation, the way God made for us to operate in the world, we're created to thrive and flourish as we care for one another.
Sure.
We're made to, he made us interdependent.
Yeah.
That I actually need you and you need me. And part of this sales transaction is that God is providing a car for you and providing food on my family's table for me through one another.
Yeah.
It's actually a beautiful thing. And over time, when acted out in integrity, that is what I saw. It's that the believing salespeople were actually pretty fruitful over time.
Yeah.
However, they were never the absolute
top
best.
Salesperson.
Yeah.
Right.
It usually takes a idolatry or injustice of some sort to become the best of the best of the best of the best.
Agreed.
Or some obsessive sin, something like that.
That's the gold medal conversation we're having,
exactly,
right? In episode 1.
I like what you're saying about idolatry because it's ultimately like, what is your ultimate love?
Yeah.
And if it's something outside of Jesus and his kingdom, then it's going to motivate you to essentially use people to that end.
Yes.
And so if it's money, you'll use people to get money. Versus if it's Christ, you will use your gifts to serve and bless others.
Amen.
All right, so going back to this end, like a whole life will be better. I saw a clip. I think I've sent this to you guys probably multiple times from the JJ Redick podcast.
Okay.
When he asked his guest, I forget who it was, who is the GOAT? Who's the best basketball player ever? And you could say Michael Jordan, but this guy's answer was, if you're looking at a whole life perspective, it's actually Steve Kerr.
Oh, yeah.
Who played on the Bulls.
Talk about that.
Steve Kerr was a role player. He won some championships. Then he went and was an executive in the NBA. Was a coach he still is a coach for the Warriors. Won some championships there. Yeah. But he has what the podcast guest was saying is, if you look at Michael Jordan now, he's very bitter.
Yeah.
His old teammates don't like him because he had this ruthless approach to life, this Darwinistic approach to life. He's kind of miserable because he's not good at basketball anymore. He's physically fallen apart. He had so focused on that one area of life that he didn't develop any other areas, including family.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr has good relationship with his children. He's loved by his former teammates, the team that he coaches.
Yeah.
And he's developed in multiple areas of life and seen fruitfulness there. And when you're asking, like, okay, who is the better basketball player on the court at that given time?
Right.
Definitely Michael Jordan. But if you scroll back and you say, among basketball players, who's lived the most fruitful, abundant life?
Yeah.
No question.
Steve Kerr,
And we even saw that like playground mindset with Jordan in his Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he takes this time when he's being honored and being entered into the Hall of Fame to like insult people.
And just name grudges.
Yeah.
and named grudges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he could not let it go.
Uh-huh.
And so, I think to what you're saying, man, you look at Steve Kerr, his accomplishments on numerous different levels. Was he ever the best basketball player on the court? No.
No.
But he was also one of the best at like what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At shooting. He was like one of the best, you know?
Well, the person who got inducted into the Hall of Fame the same time as Jordan, David Robinson, that's a better comparison.
Dude, for sure, man.
His Hall of Fame speech was just pure gratitude.
Yeah.
And David Robinson was really good.
Very good.
Wasn't Michael Jordan.
No.
But also, he's had a substantial impact on his community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strong relationships, loves God.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a Christian.
Yep. A man of integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when Tim Duncan came in, he wasn't like all the spotlights. He was like, oh, it's his time.
That's right. That's right.
I'll play my part, and guess what? Got the championship.
That's right. That's right.
Even though you beat the Knicks.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I have against him. That's good. That's good.
All right, you want to pivot to
did you have another rule?
Yeah. The boomerang
That was
rule.
fun. All right, let's hear the boomerang rule.
Boomerang rule is do to others so that good will come to you. So that treat others good so that they will treat you good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Would you say this is like a similar to like karma?
I think there's two approaches to it.
Okay.
There's a quasi-mystical, new age kind of karma approach or law of attraction.
Yeah.
That you get back what you put out in the world.
Yeah.
And that's one way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The other is more of like a reciprocal transactional approach that isn't mystical, that just says, go treat people well so that you have favor with them and they'll treat you well back.
Yeah.
But the problem with both of these is it's saying that the ultimate aim for why you are treating people well is so that you can
something
get
good
something
come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be like me kind of buttering you up, being real nice to you, hopefully so that I could get some kind of promotion or advancement at the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people are just a tool.
Yeah.
For good things to come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're still being used.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And I think the problems with it, like one is it does not work.
It does not work.
No. At least not one for one. If you are expecting to get back what you put in to any aspect of life, a friendship, I treated them well, and then they didn't treat me well back. A coworker, any sort of thing like that, you're going to be so bitter and disappointed in life.
Yeah,
because you now expect that it's coming back.
Yeah,
to you, and we don't live in a world. Jesus went around healing people and loving people, and they crucified
him. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And the other problem with it is it actually dehumanizes people. Because it basically says that I'm not treating you well because you are made in God's image, and that is how you deserve to be treated as an image bearer. It's that I can get something out of you.
Yeah.
It's like living life like a video game.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the people in your life have the little coins that you can get from.
Yeah, the motivation becomes, how can this better my life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just what would it be like to live in a world where that's the mindset of everybody?
Oh, it's a great question. Let's think about this. Well, one, there's a set. You're perpetually disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The relationships do become transactions. I think you were alluding to that, but it's really, you don't actually love me for me and that I'm made in the image of God, but you love me based off of what you can get out of me or what I can do for you.
Yeah.
And not only can that other person, or not only is that other person not being respected as a whole human being with their value and dignity that comes from God, like you can't live a full life. Because the reality is we're not always positive. Reality is we get angry sometimes.
Yeah.
And there are hard things that need to be said sometimes that will not be received from the other person as good in that moment that might actually be loving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I think if you reverse this thing, and you mess up,
then what?
Then what? Yeah.
Yeah. Not much room for that.
Not much room for that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not grace in this. And then also, I think what would end up happening is the people who have the most value to be extracted in the world are the only ones, they would be the ones who are treated the best.
Yes.
And the ones who can't get you ahead in any area of life get treated the worst, which is the opposite of what Jesus wants.
Amen.
Totally.
If someone is like nonverbal, cognitive disability, Jesus is saying, you are to prioritize that person and treat them well, and esteem them. But with this mindset, you're thinking, well, I'm going to say some nice words to them, but they're nonverbal. They're not going to be able to say it back to me.
I'll just ignore them.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to get a financial advantage out of this person. I'm not going to be able to network and those sorts of things. And so what we end up living in is a world where the people that Jesus is most attentive to, the widow, the orphan, the leper,
that's so true.
they're the ones who are ignored.
Discarded,
Discarded.
It's interesting as you say that, Jim,
That's so
because
good.
I think about even James and how James talks about favoritism so much, partiality and favoritism. And this is kind of the motivation for showing favoritism is I'm going to favor the people who have something I want. In that context, it's money, but now it might be a lot of followers or, opportunity. And those are the people that I'm going to favor because it's ultimately like that's going to come back to me somehow to benefit my life versus the upside down nature of the kingdom is no, don't show favoritism. And actually Jesus prioritizes the least and the last and the left out.
Totally.
Yeah, if I was going to change the name of this from boomerang, it might be something like the mining rule. Because you're looking at each person as like this mountain who has some resource, and that your good treatment of them is like a pickaxe that's breaking them open so that you can extract comfort from them, encouragement from them, money from them, insight from them.
Yeah.
And the other aspect that's dehumanizing about this that we often don't think about is that those who have the most power, who have the most connections, who have the most jovial personalities, often end up getting dehumanized in an opposite direction.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
If they're treated like more than human.
Yes.
They're treated like gods.
Yes.
I remember talking to a wealthier guy once, and he was at the church years ago. Don't try to figure out who it is. You probably wouldn't be able to. But he basically said, something that theologically wasn't all that accurate, and he wanted to bring it up to me and ask what I thought. And I told him very honestly that I think he was misunderstanding something in Scripture. And at first he was like taken aback. Then he came back to me later and he said, look, I really appreciate what you did there because most people in my life just agree with me because they see that at some point in life, they might need to get some money out of me. They know that I'm wealthy.
Wow.
And so they just kind of flatter me, but they don't ever tell me the truth. And so this sort of mindset and approach to the world is dehumanizing on the other side.
Dude, that is.
And that's when you're like, there's no amount of money you can give to rewrite the Bible.
That's right. That's right.
No, that's a great example.
Yeah. But I even just think too, like on a experiential level, it's more fun to talk to the people who are not the you know, the 99 grades in the room. You know what I mean? Like, just to like, I don't know, they have very often a perspective on life.
Yeah, and
it's fun to hear from.
The reality is, even if you feel like you're a 99 grade right now, we all start off not that, and we end that way. Yeah, we start off in very vulnerable states. We end in very vulnerable states.
That's right.
You're healthy. Your cognitive function is strong right now. But there's going to be a day when you're like in a bed and you need people to take care of you. Yeah. Unless you drive so fast, it'll probably be a car accident.
Oh my God.
Dang.
That's horrible, man.
Well, I'm just trying to
Road
get you.
rager over here.
I'm loving you by slowing down.
God, thank you.
You know. Yeah. But if we're honest, like if you make it into the older age.
Yeah.
How many of the elderly people who get looked past in society were the sharpest, most exuberant, financially strong people at one point. And so you guys are all depressed now. You're like,
that's where we're heading.
But you are heading that way.
That's where we're heading.
You're heading that way. But you are a part of a church that if you take Jesus seriously, you will be there and you will not be overlooked.
Amen.
You know?
Amen. And this was just a cutting room floor of the sermon. I'm saying this should have been in that sermon. Good. So you're changing it from boomerang to mining?
I don't know. The sermon passed.
So it could be whatever.
I know. That's why I said you can do whatever you want. What do you want to call it?
So here's what might be fun is if we threw out a few scenarios. Okay. And we talked about what it would look like to approach this through the lens of the golden rule, or maybe even the mirror rule or the boomerang rule, how it looks different. So one would be competition. So here's the thing. I think people get tripped up on competition with the golden rule.
Yeah.
Because let's just say you're a baseball player. Sure. And the baseball player says, I want to win. So therefore, does that mean I should let the other person win because I'm treating them the way I would want to be treated?
Huh.
Like, does it mean in competition you should automatically always lose because you would want to win?
No. I mean, I even think about that in relation to the car salesman. Like, there's an end to it. You know, like doing good work in those spaces means playing hard, working with integrity.
Right.
You know, and I think you would want your competition to do the same things.
Yeah.
Why? Because I think that makes the best version of the sport. Like that honors playing the sport well and doing it in excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So in a baseball game, if you're a pitcher,
right,
you don't just throw these little soft.
No.
If you throw hard pitches, what does that do for your opponent that benefits them?
It challenges them, and it honors the training and time that they've put in to become a good baseball player.
Yeah.
It's to play hard against them.
Yeah.
And it honors their skill and their talent. Because if you are throwing lobs, that's also a dehumanizing.
It's dehumanizing.
Thing of like, did you really win? You know, it's like, well, yeah, but we weren't really trying.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a way of honoring the talent and skill and years of training and practice to say, hey, I'm going to give it my all and know that you have skill and talent. And so there's an honorable competition.
Yeah.
To your opponent, to your teamates.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. Let's pivot to pickleball. So it's a sport people are actually playing in our church here. Okay. With pickleball, you're drawing the potential out of that person.
Sure.
What else should be considered to play pickleball along the lines of the golden rule? How would you want to be treated? And then how do you treat others that way?
I would say something, because I just played pickleball this weekend, and I'm inexperienced. And I feel like something that happens when you have someone inexperienced on a court and experienced, it's like the inexperienced person can kind of feel like bad for like maybe interrupting the game or slowing things down or something. It's like, dude, at some point, this didn't happen to me, but I'm just thinking about it. Like, at some point, you were inexperienced, and you wanted people to slow down and to teach you the game. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be during that game, but like, don't trash talk to people. You know, like create space. Especially like, come on, for most of us here, we're not pros or anything like that. Like create space for people who are new to be able to learn the game so that they can enjoy it as well.
Yeah, the biblical value of hospitality goes beyond what happens in your house.
Totally.
But it's making space for the other.
Yeah.
You make space for them there. Doesn't mean you let them win or anything.
Yeah.
But when they're trying to sort out the rules and it slows things down, patience is a fruit of the Spirit.
Totally.
You know? That's a good one. What other ways would you approach that?
I got another one. John, you got? Okay. I think even all right, so let's take inexperienced out. Now you have two experienced people. And I think something that can happen is if you are experienced and you go into it even with the right mindset of wanting to play the game well, if that other person is really competitive, you start to match their energy, you know? And so I think in a situation like that, not being the thermometer.
Yeah.
Being the thermostat and just take it, like, don't go to that level of like, all right, this person is talking trash and maybe they're even dominating me. Like, I can be okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, I can see that. I think another thing that you'd want is the security. There's an insecurity that comes from excuses. That is, I think you just take a win or a loss with face value. There's the like we've all played basketball.
Yeah.
And then someone loses and they're like, man, I haven't played basketball in like 2.5 years.
Like, why do you have to say that?
Why exactly?
Why do you have to say that?
And what you're doing is you're trying to take some of the value that the other person had and when in that game and say, no, I'm taking it back for myself. Right. It's a face-saving way. Or, hey, I'm just working. So here's an example. Ryan Arneson plays with us. Sure. He is so good at honorably engaging this game and golden rule. He's better than all of us who we play with. But, and I've noticed this, I notice that he works on different parts of his game when he's playing with us because we're not at the level that he's at. Okay. So he's trying different shots and trying different things to grow other parts of his game that he's not quite as good at now. But he never says, well, I was just working on my backhand. That's why I didn't score that point. He never lets people know that. You know what I'm saying?
He's just doing it.
He's just doing it. Yeah. And so if someone lesser than him in skill scores a point on him, they feel great, and he never has to be like, well, technically I was
like,
working.
I let you get that
exactly,
one.
Exactly. So, all right, take pickleball into the playground rule. I see a lot of, grandparents out there living along the playground rule.
So that's.
I feel like in the game you go, you slammed it on me, I'm gonna slam it on you, even if you don't have a good shot.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's where like just it's one of those like, dang, even if you don't have the open shot, you'll still slam it on him. You might hit him with the ball on purpose, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's also when you say that is a perfect example of being the thermometer, not the thermostat.
Yeah.
It's basically saying, if you are going to talk crazy to me, mistreat me, disrespect me, I'm going to do it too.
It's so hard, man. It's so hard, I'll be honest. Like, this is a real struggle for me, man. I feel like, I don't know. The desire to win is strong, right? And then,
but at the end of the day, it's pickleball.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. But it feels like such a loss. Like it's such a hit on your identity.
Yeah. So I think that's a key part of living the golden rule.
Yeah.
Is if you don't put your identity into something.
Absolutely.
Because anytime someone's trying to extract identity out of something, they're immediately mistreating other people around them.
Yeah.
All right. How about let's take a different scenario.
Okay.
What do you guys got? Anything come to mind?
Jim, none of us can come up with scenarios as quick as you.
Okay.
So just give us the scenario.
All right. I'll just
within pickleball.
No, something else.
A new area of life.
Oh.
John, I'm going out on a limb here. No,
Okay.
Both of them. I'm going out on a limb here. What does it look like to choose clothes according to the golden rule?
Whoa, okay.
Does it pertain to shopping for clothes? How would you want to be treated as it relates to that? And how can you treat others in a similar way? How does the golden rule shape that?
Are you saying from like the shop, like the store's perspective?
I would say from the consumer perspective.
Okay.
How do you live the golden rule?
Okay.
So who are the people who need to be considered in this?
Yeah, I mean, I think one, you're opening up the can of worms on the fast fashion industry, which
Tell us about it.
which is where most people end up buying their clothes from because it's affordable. So that's like all of the big box stores from H&M to Forever 21 to even Target. But it's how these companies are able to make very, very cheap, affordable clothes.
Yeah.
How is it?
It is usually with not the best labor conditions overseas. And the whole industry has been essentially co-opted by fast fashion. And a lot of the most gross income revenue are these companies. So even Zara would fall into that.
Zara.
But the other problem is all of this stuff goes to landfills and it produces a massive environmental, waste. And so I think one of the things to think about is how it's made, where it's made, the quality. The hard thing is you're going to end up spending a little bit more money, not a little bit, a lot more money for things that are ethically made and sustainably sourced, things like that. But you're thinking about who made this.
Right.
Not just like what looks good for one night out. Because the reason why most of these fast fashion companies is that you're buying an outfit to go to an event or one night out on the town. And it's cheap because you can get it for $19 versus having to buy something for $300.
Okay.
So you think about who's making this, what are the conditions they're living in, how does this benefit them? And most fast fashion companies are not ideal ethical treatment of employees overseas.
Okay, so if you take something like purchasing clothes, the thing we talked about yesterday is how we need to consider all of the people who are affected in this decision. It doesn't give us an easy answer, but it gives us the thought process for how we're supposed to be thinking about others and considering their needs. So if one person are the laborers who are involved with the manufacturing, who are the other people involved that should be considered in the act of buying clothes? So we don't have to come up with what the answer is for how they should be treated yet, but so you have the people in the
store employees.
Yeah, you go store employees, and then that raises another question of, do I want to support a small business and a boutique? Or do I want to just continue to contribute to massive corporations that have driven a lot of those small business and boutiques out of business? So do you want to support local? Do you want to just support the big corporations? But even if you are within the corporations, it's thinking about the people in the stores.
But then on the other side of that, you have people who benefit from the existence of inexpensive clothes, who probably couldn't spend $300
on pants.
Pants exist that are $300.
MC Hammer pants.
I heard that at the Mike Tyson Jake Paul thing, that Jake Paul's boxing shorts were like over $1 million and had diamonds embedded in them and everything like that.
What?
So John is telling us that we need to.
That's just ridiculous.
So obviously we couldn't afford those shorts, right?
Totally.
Most people.
$300 for pants. I mean, even that.
$300 for pants. You can't do that.
I don't spend $300 on pants.
Jeez.
I
mean, I wonder if it's just like, all right, actually, what's the question?
The question is, does the existence of a supply chain that allows for lower cost items like that actually provide opportunities for people to afford things they otherwise wouldn't afford?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So how do we consider those people in the fashion choices?
I think even with some of the fast fashion stuff, like, all right, I understand and hear all the arguments against it, and I think it's something we need to deeply consider. But I think for some of the reasons that you've named, like, it's a hard thing to go around for a lot of people. And so I even just wonder, is there things with, like, just clothing care?
Yeah, talk about that.
That can preserve the clothes so you're not going out and buying a new outfit every time something comes up, you know? If that's the way you have to go because you can't afford more expensive clothes or better sourced or whatever it is, are there ways that you can care for what you have well so you're not purchasing a bunch of stuff, throwing a lot of stuff in?
I like that. That
there's ways to do
you
it.
could buy fewer things, a little bit better, less often, and steward those things.
Steward them well.
That's
or
good.
you can do something that I learned how to do. I think many know you do something similar.
So
is you pick something. So why fast fashion and the whole industry is able to succeed is they change what is in and out of style every season.
Exactly.
Didn't used to be like that. That's a new thing. So if you say, hey, I do want to care for my stuff, I'm going to buy 4 pairs of the same black pants that are going to be in style from here till the next 10 years. Same thing with shirts. You can care for your stuff and not have to actually give in to the whole fast fashion. I need this specific thing. Because that's literally how all these things succeed, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
The desire for the latest.
And there's also really good quality clothes that you can actually get for cheap.
That's true.
That have been around a long time, like Dickies. Dickies last forever.
True.
You know? And Dickies are cheap. They're like $29.
I think my hard thing, and this is totally off topic or maybe not the direction you want to go, but like the hard thing with the fast fashion is like, where does it, I don't know. Like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Within a company to go, this is evil? Because I think if you probably look at every company, you'll find that somewhere. So, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't think about it. Like, it doesn't mean we do nothing. But I think I just have a hard time, like, why that versus the small boutique where the owner then treats its employees like trash?
Yeah.
Like, why that?
So I love what
why
I love what you're getting at. Steve Garber, one of the guys I really respect. He in his book Visions of Vocation, he has a whole chapter on making peace with the proximate.
Yes.
I haven't heard you talk about this in a long time, bro.
Yeah.
Pulling out of the archives.
Well, you know, when I get a little rested in life, some of the old stuff starts coming back.
Steve Garber, here we go.
But the whole point of it is that you cannot bring the kingdom. We don't live in a world where you can ever find something perfect.
Right.
Because it's tainted by the fall. But you can get closer to some better flourishing, more healthy relationships, justice, wisdom.
Yeah.
And our approach should be, we're never going to fully get there, but do we have an approach to life that is trying to nudge in that direction more?
Yeah. Sure.
And so if we accept the fact that you're never going to have you're never going to eat a chicken sandwich where the chicken was spoken positive affirmations to, and it had special hobbies, and that it had a good group of friends, and but maybe you can get a chicken sandwich where they weren't pumping it full of all of the chemicals and they kicked it in the face every morning, right? Like there's something between there. And the question we want to say is, where do you draw the line?
Yes.
But
yes.
The point is actually not where you draw the line. It's that you do draw the line.
Yes.
And you're never going to get it right, but it's not about getting it right as much as, will I thoughtfully approach life? And I know that wherever I draw the line isn't going to be perfect, but I'm trying to nudge in the trajectory.
See, I can get with that.
Yeah. Versus
that
just
feels
shrug it
manageable
off.
to me. Yeah, because I don't think shrugging off is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus just saying like, well, you're never going to have a perfect chicken sandwich, so just like kick them all in the face and, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, with that, you say, hey, all I can afford is something cheap, but you can buy something cheap. It's not a sin. You're not doing anything wrong. Right? You can go to Target and buy an outfit, but then do you take care of it? Or if you're thinking about the golden rule, when you have to try something on, what do you do in the dressing room with the clothes? Do you just throw them all over the place, making the employee's job way harder? Or do you fold it back up and hang it back up and give it to them? Like there's basic things to say, how would I want to be treated if I was working at Target in the dressing room area? And it's okay to buy something cheap. Right? I've bought clothes at Target before.
And I think some people wonder if I start thinking this way about all of this stuff, am I just going to be like neurotic about every little thing I do? Is like, how do I love my neighbor if I put my phone here versus here, that sort of thing. But you only get that neurotic, anxious sort of thing if you are driving towards what's the perfect answer.
Yeah.
Versus how can I nudge a little more toward love, toward the kingdom in this given moment. I'll miss it, but that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, I'm taking small steps in that direction.
Yeah.
And Garber.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
I think we're
going to wrap up right now. We have solved a lot. Man, if you haven't heard the sermon from yesterday, check it out. It's on our YouTube page, Jordan, I think. I'm putting Jordan on the spot here. He's soon. It'll be up soon.
Proximate.
But guys, we want to thank you for joining us. We pray as you head towards Thanksgiving and all of that it's great, it's fun, that you have more positive views on Thanksgiving than we do here, but that you enjoy the time with your family and friends and community. Love you guys, and we'll see you soon.